Bienvenidos, bienvenidas a nuestro canal, Aportes Afro-Costarricenses y Diaspóricos. This afternoon, we have with us Dr. Marva Spence Sharpe, who is going to share with us about the language and identity in the Greater Caribbean, basically focusing on the Limon Creole. But before we listen to Marva, let me just share with you her very extensive bio. I'm going to just pick out what is I consider important for you to know. So in terms of her academic achievement, her academic training, she is a linguist. She has a PhD in lingüística, especialidad sociolingüística from the Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And in terms of her work as a lecturer, she works at she's a member because she's a retired lecturer now. And she is a member of el Consejo Consultivo de la Cátedra de Estudios de África y el Caribe since 2013 until the present. And she has a number of articles which you will find in the description section, and attended a number of conferences, and also she have a distinguished honor from the Universidad Internacional de las Americas, and she was a Fulbright scholar between 1988 and 1990. So thank you again and welcome. The stage is yours.
And thank you so much, Dr. Hutchinson, for your kind and nice introduction. So today, what we'll be doing, I'm going to give a general introduction about Creole, because I imagine that our audience might be diverse and not all of us are in the academic realm. So, and we hear about Creoles and we hear about patois and we hear about these different languages and these different names. And sometimes we don't know what they are. If are they languages, are they dialects, or what are they? So it's like an overall introduction to what is a Creole, how Creoles came about, how they started. And so let's get started, okay? And as we see here, as Dr. Hutchinson said, we're talking about language and identity in the Greater Caribbean, Creole languages in general, and specifically, we will pinpoint certain aspects about our Creole spoken in the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica and some of the processes that is going through today. So here we have the map of the Greater Caribbean, and in most of these areas, we can see all of these islands here. There is a form of a Creole that is spoken even in the Caribbean coast of Venezuela, in front of Trinidad and Tobago. And the Caribbean could have here, well, all these islands, okay, the ABC Islands, the Caribbean coast of Colombia. They are so lucky they have two Creole languages. They have the Anglophone Caribbean language and they have a Spanish based Caribbean language. The Anglophone Caribbean language you would find in the islands of Providencia and also on San Andres, ¿verdad? That it's not located here. It's much more closer here. Here we see Providencia and San Andres, okay, even though they belong to Colombia, okay, I'm pointing here, but you see how close they are to us and to this greater part. Then Panama, Costa Rica, which we are looking at, Honduras, Nicaragua, the Mosquito Coast, Honduras, and we can go up to even to the US. We will also find Creole languages, for example, Gullah language, okay, that is spoken in the Carolinas. These are Creole Creole languages also. So we found that there is a big number of Creole languages, and later on we'll see why these Creoles came about and why we find them so concentrated here in this section. Of course, you'll find Creoles also in the west coast of Africa and also in Asia, but we have a big concentration in this part. Okay, what is the meaning of the word Creole? The word Creole comes from the Portuguese form criollo and Spanish criollo, also, which originally referred to the condition of being born in the New World, okay, of non-indigenous ancestors. So the word criollo was used for Europeans and also for African persons born in the Americas. Okay, so that, as it says, criollo simply meant born in America from foreign parents. Okay, that's the original meaning of the word criollo, from where Creole stems. And the word was created around the 1500s, of course, in the Spanish colonies of the West Indies, to name children of Spanish settlers who were born in this part of the world. Then the word was extended and became used for any person, not just person, but animal and plant that was grown, born, and raised in the colonies, especially the Caribbean colonies. And today we can see, even in Spanish language, those of us who speak Spanish, we still use the form criollo, okay, to refer to something that is proper to the location. It's, for example, we make a distinction in Costa Rica between lemons. So we say limon criollo, and we call other types of limones, of lemons. Okay, so the criollo is the authentic lemon from Costa Rica. Okay, that it is not hybrid, it's not mixed. We talk about banano criollo, right? When we say banano criollo, it's not the same banana that we use for exportation. It's a different variety, a variety that is local, okay, that has no that doesn't have these other mixtures in them, these other hybrid forms. So how that distinction was made between criollos and non-criollos. For example, an African slave who was not born in the America was called bozal. Okay, he was un negro bozal. And his kids, or her kids, would be criollos. Okay, they were born in here in this part. Okay, what is the meaning of the word bozal? The word bozal comes from the Latin form bucca, okay, boca, bozal, mouth, okay, and it referred to the person who still speaks his mother tongue. So you can imagine our African ancestors who came over here, they spoke their Bantu languages, okay, Mande, Kande, the different African tongues. And so those were, eso era un negro bozal, okay, un negro that spoke his African tongue. And their kids then would be called un criollo negro, or un criollo negro, to distinguish them from other types of criollos. Then we know that later on that concept acquired new nuances to include languages that emerge mostly in the Americas as a result of contact of more languages between different languages. And so what is a Creole language? A Creole language is a language that is the result of contact of at least two languages. It could be 2, 3, and more, but at least to have a contact, we need two languages. Okay, now. This is the most recent form of contact that we can see, as a linguist can see and look at and study to understand language development, because this contact is so recent. It's just over 500 years plus, okay? So it's a recent contact. And the Creole languages that we're looking at in this part of the world, in this continent, it's usually, as I said earlier, the contact between a European language, okay, and a West African language. Could be Mande, a Bantu language, any type of these Bantu language. What was what would that contact bring about? Okay, what we see is that from this contact between these languages from Europe and from this part of the world, what stays is mainly, we see the lexemes, the words, the vocabulary would be mainly from the European language. So if we have a French, as we talk about a French-based Creole, or a Spanish-based Creole, or an Anglophone Creole, these language, if I say an Anglophone or an English-based Creole, I'm sorry, or Anglophone Creole, that means that the words, the lexemes, the vocabulary, the bulk of the vocabulary comes from English. If we say a French-based Creole, we're saying that the bulk of the words of the vocabulary comes from French, and so on. And that sometimes can cause certain confusions, okay? Certain confusions, because and we won't, and that type of confusion many times won't give the Creole language its proper place, okay? So we say we're speaking English because, of course, most of the vocabulary that we can look, and it's easy to grasp the vocabulary and to see the vocabulary, whereas other parts of the language, of the structure of a language, of the grammar of a language, is not so visible, okay? Or for example, the rhythm usually comes from the African tongues, okay? But it's not something that you can grasp so easily as a word you can see and touch. And I hope I'm explaining myself clearly. And other parts of the underlying structure of the grammar, for example, the structure, also they would come from the African tongue. So let me say this again. The words, the lexeme, the vocabulary would come from the European languages. That is the French, if it's a French-based, or from English, if it's an English-based Creole, or and so on. And then we'd have things like the underlying structure would be mainly from the African tongues, and of course the rhythm, the phonology, and so on would be from the African tongues.